Finally, I have finished watching Star Wars The Original Trilogy after checking out the 1983 Return of the Jedi Episode 6. And I'm going to go on record and say, out of the original trilogy, this is my favourite one. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for sparing your own time out to check out my review on Star Wars. If you've missed so far on the channel, I've been covering every Star Wars movie as my cinema shows them weekly, and we're now finally on to episode 6, but you may see this video at the time I'm recording this on October 7th. You may see this a few weeks down the line. Anyway, I was really excited to go into this one because New Hope had built up a great foundation. Empire Strikes Back definitely capitalised on top of that and delivered a really great entry into the series, the saga, the franchise. And here we are with Return of the Jedi, finishing things off with this original trilogy. Now that I've seen the prequels, Rogue One, I have seen Solo as well, by the way, and now the original trilogy. Now, this is directed by Richard Marquand, if I've got that right. It is unique that each one of these movies had a different director each individual time, and definitely an interesting choice. I'm sure there's some background behind that. I'm sure you guys can maybe fill me in the comment section down below. Of course, most of our casts return in this outing once again, but we have got Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, and this is what I was really looking forward to most, especially with how the prequels built him up in his character. Although I appreciate this obviously came way before the prequels, but I just appreciate how that gave context to his arc and story, and now we finally got to see some conclusion to this character, and I really admire that and appreciate that. So what did I think of Return of the Jedi? Well, this movie was an absolute blast for most part, and I'm going to get into the most part element very shortly, but let's just say this: I really enjoyed this outing. A lot of action, a lot of fun, a lot of conclusion, of course, to the story overall, but it was also really fitting a nice conclusion to this original trilogy, but also the prequels as well. And I can really respect Star Wars for what the vision was originally, how they capitalized that in those prequel movies, although I know a lot of them aren't well received, but personally I enjoy them, and I love the fact that if you watch all of them, then you watch this original trilogy, although people will tell you to do it backwards, whatever, that's up to you guys. But me watching them from episode 1, then going to 6, definitely just added far more context, and I'm really glad that I saw them that way because I really enjoyed this out and I had a great time. The 2 hour and plus runtime didn't feel like a big runtime whatsoever. It was well paced, there was a lot going on, but I also felt that it handled it really effectively. So we've got so many great performances here. I would definitely say my favourite performances come from Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, who in this entry absolutely hones his craft in the role, and also Dave Prowse, who of course is in Darth Vader's suit, but of course the legendary James Earl Jones voice as Darth Vader. Two big standouts for me, and I think it is pretty much going to be for everyone in this outing, but either way, I really enjoyed the performances. Rest in peace to James Earl Jones, by the way. Such an iconic voice for Darth Vader, and that will always live on for cinematic history, and what a legacy to leave behind just in one franchise alone. The cinematography is really cool. I like the fact of the Ewok village we go to. We see the Death Star 2, and there's just so many cool scenes throughout, and so many like iconic images where you could easily make that into a canvas, a wallpaper, a background, especially that last lightsaber battle, which we've got to talk about, which was epic. I really enjoyed the hell out of that last saber battle. It was great, it was tense, it was action packed, and it was a one I was like truly bought into, and I loved it. I just think it's one of the highlights of the entire franchise, and I know it probably will be for a lot of people, but it was so well done. Again, with the prequel, it just gives even more context to that moment, and just the overall last 10-15 minutes finale. I know my friend Anthony Perez is that Star Wars connoisseur who I've referenced in these reviews. I know he said it was like last 10 minutes is just greatness of cinema, and I've got to admit I probably have to agree with him. It is written just to a satisfying conclusion, and a one that I can't really rave about this movie enough. I honestly had a really, really great time with it. Again, the supporting cast, our main cast like Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, they're all really great. Everyone does a really, really great job, and it was really cool to see the inclusion of the Ewoks, especially as Warwick Davis and family play Ewoks along with other actors, of course, but they just bring a unique element to this outing that really cool. And I was actually first introduced to into the Lego games, and seeing those Lego games play out in this movie it was just really fun, let me put it that way. But on top of the positives, including of course you can't not talk about the John Williams score, which is just emphatic in terms of it knows when to hit those high levels, but also knows to hit them really subtle levels, or iconic little piece of music that turns the tide of the movie at particular moments. And that guy again just absolutely killed it with another amazing score. The only negative I've got for Return of the Jedi, and this might be a bit of a controversial one, but the edition that I saw of Return of the Jedi, which I spoke to Richard G Reviews after this, I spoke to Anthony Perez, because they know far more about Star Wars than I probably ever will. The version that I watched, however, is one of the edited versions where there is CGI galore. Now, I appreciate this movie was 1983. Like the other Star Wars movies, and like any movie in general, especially of an older time period, I can forgive a movie if it's got bad CG to an extent, because of course it was made in a different time. They didn't have the technology like they do in 2024 as I'm recording this review. But this version right here, every single scene was CG heavy. And again, I know that was an editing choice. I know that is not the original how it was shot like that. But the edition that I saw, it was so CG heavy, it kind of ruined a little bit of the movie, because throughout the previous installments I've been watching, they've had the little miniature versions they've been using, so it looks practical and it looks great and it still holds up so well. But because they just threw all the CGI into this outing and edited every single scene, it just ruined it. I'm going to be quite frank in terms of giving this a 5-star review, because it just took me out of the movie a lot of the time. It just looked really fake. The CG hasn't aged well in terms of it was great use of CG and it still holds up great. It doesn't hold up whatsoever. And again, when it's every single scene instead of just like little or one or two little moments, it can definitely dampen the experience a little bit. But besides that, this is an absolutely stellar movie, and my review and score for this would be a 4 out of 5 stars. Have you seen Return of the Jedi? Have you not seen it? Hey, let me know down below in the comment section so we can continue the discussion. In the meantime, if you haven't joined my Patreon where you get early access to all my Star Wars reviews, well, hey, what are you doing? Go join Patreon, link down below in the description box, from only £2 per month. Big thanks to all these awesome legends who subscribe to Patreon. In the meantime, if you haven't seen these reviews of mine, which is my reviews for A New Hope and also Empire Strikes Back, well, click over here, have a bit of a deep dive. Till next time, I'll see you guys. I'll be seeing you later.